Hey, this is Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, coming to you on the #1 rated caregiver podcast on the internet, along with my lovely co-host, best-selling author, and former mayor of Grover Beach, California, Debbie Peterson. Hey, Debbie.
Hey, Dave.
And please remember to subscribe and like to this channel so you can help us help other caregivers benefit from this channel. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. She's survived trauma, guided an ex-husband through recovery, cares for her mother today, and is building a genetic startup. All fueled by one truth: real healing starts with fierce self-love. Sounds good. Sarah Marc. Sarah, welcome to the show. So great to have you on the Caregiver Dave radio show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, let's get right into the questions. Many caregivers feel like they've reached the end of their line. How can someone recognize that this feeling is really a sign of losing balance between caring for themselves and caring for others?
Yeah, I think this is something that honestly takes time and practice. And a really big part of caregiving, I think, is recognizing the barrier, the boundary with yourself and those person or people that you're caring for, and recognizing burnout. I think, a lot of the time we're so focused on another that we're not paying attention to our own symptoms, and we get to a point of burnout. And at that point, it's kind of too late. Our nervous system's really activated. So it's kind of learning to recognize the signs in us. So it's really becoming more present within yourself in the process of also being a caretaker. I think that is really important, being present. So that's just noticing your body sensations through the day and start paying attention to that. And you'll start noticing patterns in yourself as well. And then over time, you start recognizing, what your own boundaries are, what's happening physiologically within yourself, that then has a really big impact on where you're at and what you can actually do to help another. Because, we really can't when we don't have that capacity within ourselves and we've really burnt out. And it's about starting to pay attention to our bodies and what they're doing and start seeing the signs in us that show us where we're at on a given day.
So where do you get your experience from caregiving? What makes you an expert in this field, shall I say?
Gosh, I think, just experience. It's something, to be honest, I didn't plan. I just kind of fell into it. It's one of those things. I found myself in a situation where I was very much in love with someone. And then as I got to know them, I started recognizing that they were having difficulties with addiction, drug use. And at that point, I just, I was so deeply in love that I didn't want to walk away. And that's, I guess, when I made that choice to actually do my research and look into it and just to kind of be there for them, because at the end of the day, it was actually a choice that they had to make. We're all caregivers, different kinds of caregivers. And in a situation like that, where it's substance abuse, addiction, it's very challenging because you can be present to somebody. But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is that person's choice. So, there's a beautiful quote from Parker Palmer that says, "The human soul doesn't want to be advised or fixed or saved. It simply wants to be witnessed, to be seen, heard, and companioned exactly as it is." And I think that's something that I took into account, and it's something that I kind of just fell into. So, that's kind of.
Did your boyfriend ever fully recover?
Yeah, he did actually. Which was a really happy ending to that. It was a challenge, I'll be honest. It wasn't something. This is the thing with healing, it's not really linear. It has very extreme, ups and downs. And like I said, it was quite a process, but we got there. So
Now, you're not with him anymore, right?
No, I'm not. But, these things happen. But I think the main thing, look, I'm happy that, it turned out well for him in his life, and it just was one of those things that wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can look back in hindsight and go, oh well, it didn't work out, but there was a reason that we met.
Yeah.
He helped me through my life as well, like evolve and develop, and I helped him through a really rough patch. And I think we both took something from that marriage in the end.
Yeah, I always like to say I wouldn't want to go through it for $1 million again, but I wouldn't want to replace what I learned for $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, a lot of the time, look, we end up going through these situations, these lessons, and they come from, sometimes I think the harshest lessons can be the most invaluable, and sometimes growth can come from such a place of hitting rock bottom, that if you gave us the option, no, we're not going to do that. It's not by choice.
Debbie, you got a question?
Yeah. So you go into all of this with strength and love, and then all of a sudden, or over time, you become exhausted and depressed. And how do you normalize those feelings of exhaustion and depression?
Yeah, that's a really big one, I'll be honest, because I've had so many times in my life that I've just crashed and I've really hit rock bottom. And it's something that I've done so much research and practice over time. And this is what I've learned in my experience is the greatest thing that you can do is really practice presence. And that's not something that's easy. It's not something that you wait till you burn out. These are tools that you can practice every day, and you can start off small, because I think another thing is about building self-trust. And that comes from being able to keep promises to yourself that you make every day. So it's like start off small. And little things can just be like start paying attention to yourself. When you're feeling burnout, sometimes it's like, you're exhausted and it's very difficult to feel present in times like that. So that's when you start realizing, okay, there's little things that you can do. For example, drinking a glass of water can actually help with the frontal cortex and help you kind of calm and become more present. You can even get a block of ice cubes, and can actually just stroke them on your arms. That actually helps to bring sensation back into the body. So that kind of helps to ground you and bring you back into yourself and your body and centered. Also exercises, another one, just sitting down. So when you feel exhausted and you've kind of feeling that overwhelm of negativity that can come with it, which can then, you can emotionally overload, mental exhaustion. So just being able to sit down for a moment and just take a deep breath in, hold for a few seconds, just take a deep breath out, and then just notice something nice. So it's about being able to feel duality in that moment. So for all the negativity that you're feeling, what's something nice that you're feeling at this moment? Is it just the feeling of, your legs, what it feels like sitting down and how nice that feels? Just the relaxation of your body in the chair. And then just focus on that for a moment and how good that makes you feel. And it's being able to create that space in that negativity. So you're not just feeling the negativity, you're filling it with something that also feels good. And it's just taking a moment to get your mind off that and onto something really simple but good, so that you do feel that duality. And all of a sudden, that takes the place of just something that's incomplete, that's just negative. You've got a polarity balance there. Sometimes just doing something like that, just for a few minutes even, can just help to kind of calm the nervous system down, because that's kind of really essentially what we're talking about when we hit exhaustion. It's that we're so active, we're so mentally stimulated all the time and physically stimulated, and we're not giving our nervous system any moment to just, regulate itself and calm itself. So, that over time is what leads to the exhaustion. And we're so used to caring for somebody else that we're not taking the time. It's so easy to forget yourself in this process and to stop tracking your own body through the day and your own state. So it's really important to try, even in that, a polarity balance of somebody else to yourself, and noticing what your body's doing in a given day. And then you start picking up on the signs. And when you do hit that exhaustion, it's just taking a moment, like either sitting down, like I said, the breaths, and then focusing on something that just feels nice, maybe even just your feet on the ground, or if you've got nice shoes on, how they make your feet feel. If you can even, sometimes I've even got a doona and I've just wrapped it around myself really quickly, and I've just felt something really nourishing. And that kind of helps to just bring back something nice. And believe it or not, it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be that you go out and get a massage or do this and that. It can be little tools that you can use through the day that just help to bring your body back, in your nervous system back into a regulated state. That kind of helps,
You should know. I mean, your burnout took many different symptoms. You had post-traumatic stress disorder, dealing with the cracks in the healthcare system, episodes of memory loss. That was tough, huh?
Yeah, very, very. I mean, they're learning more about PTSD now, but it's really challenging because you'll go to a doctor, and a lot of the time doctors either put you on pills, and they don't really know how to deal with this kind of thing because especially like what I had, where it's implicit memory, which means it's not autobiographical memory, it's actually feelings in the body and sensations and things. And those triggers are actually implicit and involuntary, which means anything can actually trigger you. It can be a smell, it can be an object, it can be a sound, and then the body actually remembers that. It goes back to that time, into that event. And then what happens is that time governs that state of consciousness. So immediately you're not present. So that's a very, very difficult thing. I think this is where I kind of turned to more of a holistic approach instead of classical methods. I think, cognitive therapy is great to a degree. And like I say, look, human connection is very important. Even just when things get so bad, sometimes it even gets to a point where there is nothing to say. And there's things that you can even do in moments like that. What I've done before when I felt extreme overwhelm is I would just get my hands like this, and I would literally give myself a hug, and I would just put a bit of pressure on my arms. And believe it or not, that actually tricks the body into feeling like it's been hugged. So that in itself is a really great and handy little trick. You can do that for a few minutes, and that actually does, the body recognizes that as support. So that actually helps to kind of calm overwhelm. So it's a lot of things like that I learned. It's just little tools. And again, I go back to presence and somatic work because a lot of this is inside the body. And
Debbie.
Well, what about, caregivers are always giving strength and compassion to other people. So, and they do that freely and they choose that. So how do they choose that for themselves? How do they do that for themselves?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's about developing a willingness to heal and to love yourself as well, in that situation. And that does come down to choice. I think a lot of that comes down to a willingness, and it comes from hope as well. So anything that you can do that gives you hope, that, strengthens your faith, is really important. Like I say, little things that you can do that make you feel good about yourself, that then in turn kind of give you that capacity and that willingness to heal and to love yourself. So that comes from a willingness to nurture yourself in that process, because, caregivers are such beautiful beings. What they're doing is beautiful work. I mean, I wish everybody had that in life, where we all had a caretaker when we need somebody. And in that, it's so important for a caretaker to actually see that in themselves and recognize that and be able to turn that inwards towards themselves as well. That's what I've found in my experience gives you the capacity to keep going. is when you can actually balance being nurtured with nurturing someone else. And it's that as much as you can, equal giving and receiving. And it's like I said, it's just little things that you can do through the day that just show your body that you're there, you're nourishing it, you're supporting it, and that you've got self-trust in that process, which is really important.
Were you ever impatient? I mean, did you ever wonder how long this process is going to take? How long did it take before you really felt like you were in control of your life again after you left your husband?
My gosh, it's look, to be honest, look, it's taken me years, and it's been so much trial and error. I'd like to say that it's a smooth road, but I've had moments of absolute brokenness, to be honest. Like, I've had very, very black moments in my life. It's been very challenging. By the age of 20, I actually had an NDE experience, and that's actually when I decided to look into things holistically, because I was just absolutely falling through the cracks in the medical system, and I just kept getting put on pills and they weren't working, and until the point that I basically kind of went into a cardiac arrest with all of that. So I was very young. It was really unfortunate what happened, but it was also a turning point for me that I look back at now, and I think it was imperative in my healing, because it kind of forced me out of that into looking at other avenues, into healing myself and wellness. So that's kind of when I started my process. But this was probably just before I met my ex-husband, and then I found that through that process, I actually did lose a lot of balance in my life. And then it was kind of, again, through all these trials and errors, and trial and error, and then a lot of research. And, that's it. I don't think you can really do more than that. And what I learnt was that it's really important repetition, because otherwise, when we get to a point of burnout and exhaustion, that can be a little bit too late. So it's not saying it's too late forever, but I'm just saying, if you practice these little tools on a daily basis, like little check-ins, how am I feeling? What am I sensing? How does my body feel? My arms, and you do a quick body check. You start picking up on what your body is telling you, because we're such intelligent beings, and our body knows exactly what to do to heal itself. So that might come up in sweating or shivering. That's actually your nervous system trying to regulate itself. So when you start becoming aware of what your body's doing on a given day, it's fascinating. And you become more in sync with that the more that you pay attention to it. And again, trial and error. You kind of find what works for you. Like, do I need a glass of water? Do I need to sit down? Do I need to do some somatic practices? Like little things, like when you're overwhelmed, it can be really nice just putting your hands over your head like that, kind of covering your brain. These are trauma points here in the body. So that can really help with overwhelm. So you can just literally sit down, and what I find is just little things like just breathing and going still, being able to start observing the feelings rather than reacting to them. And that's kind of building space and building resilience in the nervous system. And it's something that happens gradually over time. And that's probably the best advice that I can give, in a sense of, building resilience and really kind of, learning how to, because, the nervous system does oscillate through the day, and that's normal. You're going to go through activations, and then you're going to go through stages where you can get foggy, and it's the opposite. And that's your body fawning, or it might be freezing. So it's learning how to either, stimulate it or calm it, literally like a little oscillator through the day.
They're almost like, what's the word? My gosh, just left my brain. Vices, sorry. I notice you have tattoos
Yes.
neatly written on your arms. Did that help? Explain what they are about and why you got them, and if they
Yes.
are doing any help.
There is an array of tattoos actually on my body. They're very sentimental to me. I think, look, it's just my life journey, and some of it's to do with my work in development. And I think, look, it's really nice for me personally because I look at them and it reminds me who I am, what I'm doing, where I'm at. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need a little reminder of why you're here, your purpose. It reminds you of who you are, and it kind of helps to bring you back into yourself when it's so easy to lose yourself in this process and in this role when you're caretaking. So for me, yeah, it really helps, like, just to, inspire me sometimes when, I'm feeling a bit drained or down, or I need, just a reminder.
Do any make you sad?
No, I would, thankfully, no.
That's good. Debbie, you got
Funny,
anything?
actually.
Yeah, I'm curious. You talked about self-trust, and obviously that's got to be a component of self-love, and because it's so much easier to love someone that you can trust. So, are there daily habits that people can adopt to help them to secure that self-trust?
Yeah, definitely. Because I would say self-trust actually comes before self-love in that sense, that trust kind of builds a relationship. And when you build a relationship, that love evolves. So I think it's really important to start looking at the basis of self-trust. And it's very easy for us, I found that in my own life as well. I'll just use myself as an example that, I would just form these really, like, sometimes unhealthy habits. And it's really easy sometimes. You'll wake up in the morning with the best of intentions, and then within maybe like 2 hours, that's kind of gone down the drain, and you find yourself in a familiar place. And so I think that's kind of, I got to that point and I started realizing, okay, instead of climbing to the top of the staircase, it's like, where do I start? Because if you start small, I thought that's easier to be able to keep. And if you can keep a promise to yourself, then that's what starts building trust. And then from that comes commitment, So I think starting off really small is really important. I tell people it can be so simple. It can just be having a lemon water in the morning. Lemon water is actually really good for the lymphatic system. So that actually helps to, kind of purify and clean it out. So it can be something as simple as that, and you do that over a period of time, and that repetition, it becomes, normalized to the point where then it's like, that's a new habit, and then you feel good. And you literally can just build on that. And, it's okay. Like we're not always able to keep promises. The really important thing as well is when you fall down, it's not that you've fallen down, it's how quickly you can get up again and go back to that process. It's unrealistic to say that you can do these things day in, day out without breaking a promise at some point in your life or not falling down. You're going to. And it's really important how just to be gentle on yourself. There's no one here that's perfect. It doesn't exist. And the fact that you're even looking into something like this and you're even questioning, you should be really proud of that too. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people that go through life without even questioning. So the fact that you're here, you're listening, you're showing up, pat yourself on the back, because that's a massive step forward. And you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, and caregivers are very selfless. They really need to learn how to be a little more selfish, because they don't take care of themselves. It's like they're guardian angels for the world, or for their loved one. And just how can they build themselves back up to sustain relevance? There's a verse in the Bible that says, in order to love others, you must love yourself, and then love others as you love yourself. And a lot of people don't even love themselves, right?
Yeah, no, I know. I've struggled with that in my life as well. And the way that I actually started turning that around was baby steps. Again, I started with self-trust. I started with habits. So, because at first I felt like it was almost, I felt shame. and guilty, kind of even turning inwards and thinking about myself. I'll be honest, it didn't feel natural at first, you know, felt like a fish out of water. So I say just be gentle with yourself, you know, really be gentle and take it slow and do it in a way that feels right for you. And that's why I say these tools are just little baby steps. You know, it can start off with just taking moments to check in and see how you're feeling. And okay, do I need to do some breath work? Do I need to do a somatic exercise? Like bring yourself back into your body, yourself. There's signs that show, hey, I care and I don't want to burn out. So even though that may not seem like much, you're actually turning the focus towards yourself and your health. And that's already showing up for yourself. That's already the beginning of self-love. You're actually showing yourself, you know, you're giving yourself that attention and you're turning that, you know, nourishment inwards.
Yeah.
So it really, I would say just start off small and, you know, really it's about building up through habits and through that self-trust. And also being okay with all the feelings that come up, because that's okay. You know, I think as a caregiver as well, there's so much that gets suppressed and just put aside.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Another really big process is about, you know, I do things like this, like little exercises like this that can really help to show that you're there to support yourself.
Yeah.
That can be a really good first step as well.
Well, I can't believe how fast our time has gone. Debbie, you got anything last in mind to say?
Well, I'm just very curious about how people reach you, and if you have, I don't know, a book that explains some of this, or what how do people get in touch if what you're saying resonates with what they need?
Oh, look, I've got my website, which is www.arnika, which is ANNAKA.com. And on that's got links to my Instagram page, which is one whole word, Arnika Official. And then from that, I do also have an Instagram page called Bioenergetic Wellbeing. So I used to work as a kinesiologist as well. So I've worked with lymphatics and kinesiology therapy, Reiki. So I actually work with a lot of holistic modules in helping people kind of regulate their nervous systems. So yeah, look, you can reach me in any one of those. I'd say probably the easiest to remember is my website, arnika.com. That has links to all the other pages.
Great. Debbie, how can people reach you to find out what Mayor Debbie does?
Thank you, Dave. It's mayordebbie.com. And I also have several books on Amazon in the Integrity 101 series, Debbie Peterson.
Great. And remember that all our live shows become recorded podcasts to all those people out there watching and listening, and our video casts, all your favorite platforms. And my number one best-selling book, It's Your Life Too, How to Survive and Thrive as a Caregiver, is available wherever books are sold and also on my free membership website, caregiverdave.com, where you can also schedule a 30-minute initial coaching call, talk about whatever you're struggling with. You can also join my community of 34,000 caregivers on Facebook at Caregiver Dave. We have lots of tools, resources, videos, this radio show, much, much more. Remember to like or follow or subscribe to this show so we can help more caregivers. So until next time, same channel. May God richly bless you all. Bye-bye. Anytime we suffer loss, we grieve. And a lot of people don't realize what even the grief process is. But it could be 5 to 7 steps ranging from denial, I don't believe this is happening, anger, oh my gosh, I'm so upset this is happening, to a form of bargaining, how can I get out of this, to depression, which is a very serious thing because that often leads to suicide. And then finally, after you realize you have no more control over your situation and you're totally okay with the new normal that it brings, that wonderful, wonderful place called acceptance.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.